I know we have a lot to talk about, but first, can you just comment on the hurricane here? You represent the 1st Congressional District in Florida, the Panhandle. This looks like a big one. Just give us kind of some on-the-ground Florida wisdom here of what we can expect and what's going on.
So right now we're seeing that the hurricane is speeding up. It's going to make landfall more quickly than we'd expected. That can happen. That's why our state and local officials have been giving out precise evacuation warnings. The key message I'm real grateful to be able to share on your platform is that the Pensacola Bay Center is open and free and pet friendly. And so as people from the peninsula have been pushed north, if they're in a situation where maybe the hotels are full or they don't have the resources for a hotel, we'd invite you to come to Pensacola. We've got cots, we've got food and a pet friendly environment and a safe environment for people fleeing the storm. You know, we've seen the Governor DeSantis ensure that we got effective debris removal. And that's so key in a time like this because you got to get the branches out of the power lines and off the roads for emergency responders to be able to help people. And I think what we've really seen is a tale of two responses. In North Carolina, there has been a slow response. There's been frustration of the efforts that citizens have tried to do to help their fellow neighbors. And in Florida, you see just the opposite. The government working very closely with people, folks doing all the preparation in advance, getting out of the low-lying areas. And still, this is going to be a very deadly storm, but I think we've put ourselves in the best possible position given the circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, but put this in historic terms. I mean, we're told that the crescenting of the wave could be upwards of 10 to 15 feet. I mean, Matt, that means that if you just have a single family home, even your first floor might not make it and the whole house could collapse.
It's a really good point, Charlie. A 15-foot storm surge doesn't mean that there'll be waves that can be 15 feet high. It means everything that isn't 16 feet above sea level is going to be underwater. And so we've got a lot of bayou systems, estuaries in this area where that storm surge is going to push into people's homes, potentially over people's homes. That's why getting out of those low-lying areas is the most important thing. But we're also seeing something happen with the storm where it's getting a lot larger, right? When this was a Category 5, it did not have the same diameter. But on the west coast of Florida, we have a continental shelf that extends out, more than 100 miles. And so it has a tendency to bring down the strength of the storm, but to increase the overall size of the storm. That's why if this thing were approaching on the Atlantic side, it would likely be strengthening all the way to landfall and drawing smaller. Here, we see it moving to a Category 3 likely, but we're seeing tornadoes right now in Fort Lauderdale area, for example, just given how far the arms are extending.
Yeah, and again, at this point, is it correct, Matt, to say, again, I'm such a layman here. I live in the desert. It's just hot and sunny. So, again, I know very little about this. Is it too late for people to evacuate? Should we no longer call for evacuation?
Yeah, the best decisions there people are going to get from their county governments. Every county in Florida has an emergency operations center, and they give real-time advice, not only based on where the storm is heading and its speed, which has changed, it's making landfall sooner, but also based on what's happening on the roadways. And so on X, you can follow at FLSERT. That's our state system. They're sharing a lot of those real-time updates for people where you can make those decisions that are right for your family. What I can say is, like, right now, I think there is still time. If you're in one of those really coastal areas where you've experienced a lot of water, the ground has been wet as a consequence of the arms of Hurricane Helene, which was just days ago, really. And if you're inland sufficiently, 10, 20 miles, your local government may be sharing different information. So that's probably the best way for folks to get that intel.